Who here has ever heard of AutoCAD? Okay. Who here uses AutoCAD or any Autodesk solutions? Just a few of you, okay. Who here has ever thought of Autodesk having a fairly good GIS solution? Thank you, David, thank you. I'll give you your $5 later on. Okay. All right, so this is not going to be a session based upon a gentleman from Autodesk. What's going on in that corner over there? We having a... You're taking photographs. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. That was rude of me. So good afternoon. I stand between you and the next break. My name is Pete Southwood. The accent, just to put most of you out of your misery, is from a place called Vicksburg in Mississippi. So you may have... It's a bad joke, and I'm glad you laughed about it. Thank you. Actually, English, and I've worked for a company called Autodesk for approximately 17 years, which I'm proud of. I know about 9 AutoCAD commands. This is not going to be a picks and clicks session. But what I'd like to do is share a solution that's fairly new from Autodesk and share with you our thought processes and our direction a little bit as a company within the legal means of working for a public company. Just quickly on my background, by the way, English. Did I say I was English? I said Vicksburg. English, just to put you out of your misery. And I've spent, I think it's the last 32 years, I was trying to figure it out, 32 years in the CAD GIS industry, which is fascinating because I'm only 29 years of age. But there we go. And I started life with a product called RUCAPS, Riyadh University Computer-Aided Programming System. With the, everyone's looking at me blankly, but with the old Tektronix workstations, anyone? Phosphorus, orange screens, you have to be careful. The radiation that came out of those things, I was just pleasantly surprised that I managed to have children, but I did. But there we go. All right, so what I'd like to do with you in this very short period of time is share with you our thought process, Autodesk as a corporation, not every single solution, but a very clever colleague of mine, Warren Geisler from CAD One, said, Pete, tell them it's cool. It is cool, but cool doesn't actually help with business workflows. So we'll talk about business workflows, but before I go on, in my career, I see this all the time. It's a fight, yeah? And of course, that fight is based upon this. I can see smiles around the room. You know, who owns the best data? I'm a GISP, by the way, but GIS, you know, it stands for Get It Surveyed. Is this, I'm sorry, I had to throw it in. I know, thank you. I had to throw it in. But it's an interesting dichotomy for a number of, not only our customers, but customers of other vendors too. Because the main challenge is that we're having to deal with a whole bunch of potential disparate data, not only from Autodesk, but from other vendors or other databases. And at the end of the day, what I need to do is make more informed decisions about the stuff that's available to me. Now, these could be coming from various GIS clearinghouses, various vendors selling satellite imagery, orthophotography, all sorts of information available to me as a user. But what I need to do is make more informed decisions. Now you start throwing this thing into the mix, this thing called BIM. Has anyone ever heard of BIM? Building Information Modeling. Big, huge push, that whole infrastructure around the building itself. I wanted to bore you to tears by taking an extract out from Wikipedia, so moving on very quickly, but that built environment, that building information modeling, understanding the life cycle of a particular piece of structure from the day you dig the footings through to the day it gets demolished. But there lies the other challenge. We have this BIM model, but what's actually missing in this BIM model? Can anyone hazard a guess? What an architect does not think about? Anyone here an architect? Have I just insulted all architects? Anything 10 feet beyond the building, they don't care about. So, you know, when you flush the toilet in a building, where does that wastewater go? And that's the challenge. Oops, excuse me. The challenge being is that there's a whole bunch of other missing information which this room gladly will supply to those architectural practices as an example, but information around the local built environment. Water, wastewater, electric, communications, bus stops, land planning information, tax lot information, zoning information. All of that information that makes up that whole built environment, that BIM-based model, even more interesting, more palatable. And that's where we get into where we're going as an organization, because it's not just about BIM, it's not just about GIS, but the fact that we are dealing with this complete built environment, the intelligence, not only from the building, but the intelligence surrounding that building. Well, if I place this building in a certain area, am I going to get my LEED certification on that building based upon the other information that could be supplied by GIS, possibly? And that's where we're looking at these three main focuses and directions, certainly when we're dealing with building information modeling, but for the infrastructure-based environment, clarity, continuity, and agility. I'm not going to read every single line, but at the end of the day, I want to make more informed decisions based upon the information that's available to me. I promise you this is not going to be death by PowerPoint, but I've got a couple of other minor things to go through. So how do we get all of this, encapsulate this wealth of information, and have this information available across all disciplines? We're not just talking about GIS, we're not just talking about planning, we're talking about all disciplines. State, local municipalities, great, but what about the utilities? What about the local construction companies who want to maximize on that wealth of wonderful data that most of you in this room actually supply? And we're all facing that challenge to get together, because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is convey this intent, which may be a bit of Google Earth, maybe a bit of Bing, a bit of engineering-based stuff, GIS stuff, and you're trying to convince this group of people to give a thumbs up on a project. But you know what happens when these group of people get together, and these are just members of the public that are being placed into areas of responsibility within their own local municipality, and we have maybe city council in a meeting presiding over a project. It's unfortunate that this particular photograph has somebody's finger pointing. I made you aware of that. I shouldn't have made you aware of the finger, but we won't. But moving on quickly. But of course, members of the public, the NIMBYs. Are we okay with that term? The not in my backyard. Have you ever heard of that? NIMBYs? Because I am worried about the project that's going up in my local area and the impact it has on me as a member of the public. Note the slide on the screen behind this young lady. It's somebody's PowerPoint or a printed piece of documentation, engineering-based information. And of course, getting to that in order to get this. Ultimately, this is what you need, is you need people to vote and say yay or nay. And if you look at this group of people, you've got some people tentatively putting their hands up, some people putting their hands up altogether, other council members looking at other people. It's a complete mess. This challenge of this disparate data, different vendors, different information, but we, Autodesk, and certainly a number of other vendors, see the trend of, well, we need to make more informed decisions on that information, be able to communicate in different ways. Again, not reading every single line of this. In fact, it would be better if I were to actually show you. So, this is a bit of a commercial, but I promise you it's not commercial. None of that sounds right, but this is a solution from Autodesk called InfraWorks. It's fairly new. We've had different iterations over the years. But what you're seeing on the screen is information geographically located in the correct location. I'm just zooming out to the blue marble, the planet. So we are, oops, rotating the wrong way. Doesn't that drive you nuts when you see commercials with the globe rotating? It drives me nuts, but there we go. But I have information on the screen kindly given to me by the city of Springfield in Oregon. But what you're seeing on the screen, and we'll zoom in a bit closer in a moment, is data that comes from other disparate data stores that are not Autodesk. I've actually got a digital elevation model there from the USGS. I've got a TIFF image from the city of Springfield. I've got the rivers. In fact, we've got some water bodies here. If I zoom in a bit closer, just zoom in, maybe spin this around a tad, you can see some water. That comes from an Esri shapefile from the Oregon Clearinghouse. It was an 80 megabyte shapefile. In addition, so spinning this around just very quickly, in addition, we have our digital elevation model. We have the TIFF image draped on top. I've had a little bit of fun today. I hope you don't mind. I decided just to, for grins, just to add, because I'm a bit of a baseball fan, I added the Dodgers Stadium. So I'm pulling information in from the Google Trimble SketchUp store, free model. So I decided to put the image on there. If anyone's watching the news at the moment, anybody? The Concordia. I couldn't find a model of the Concordia, so I found a model of the Queen Mary II. And this morning, if you've been watching the news, I hope you don't mind, I just have fun with this. A quick right mouse click. The Concordia, bless her, has been put upright. So now, what we have on the screen, to begin with, is a digital elevation model from the USGS, a TIFF image from the city of Springfield, and random stuff that comes in InfraWorks standard libraries, or I've just gone out to various other areas. So what is this thing? It's a great tool to aggregate, pull together information that resides in other formats. We call it a conceptual design tool. I'm not a GIS user, I am, but I'm not a civil engineer, I'm certainly not an architect. But how can I pull this information together that I can convey on the screen to that lady with the poodle under her arm that she doesn't have to worry about her $1 million view for her project? Let me stop some of this, because if I don't, my colleagues are going to be contacting me. Okay, so Pete, what are you on about? Aggregation tool, using data from other sources. Well, let's have some fun with this. Again, many thanks to the city of Springfield. They have kindly given to me some information, and let's connect, either connect live to that information or load that information into the model. In this particular case, a shapefile. Indeed, I can connect to an ArcSDE, I can connect to MapInfo information, MicroStation information, SQL information, in a lot of cases real time. But in this case, I'm going to connect to a shapefile, navigate through Windows Explorer, find, I've got buildings. Can anyone see buildings? There we go, buildings. This is a shapefile. Select it. Wait for a few seconds. Now, InfraWorks is just asking me to configure my connection. Just answer a couple of quick questions. So let's do that by double-clicking, answering a couple of questions. You can see the yellow marker to show me, please answer some questions. Before I do that, we're working in the correct coordinate system. All of the solutions from Autodesk work, AutoCAD map as an example, connecting to Esri data in whatever coordinate system you want. On-the-fly reprojection occurs. Real-time connection, not you have to buy a plugin. This is an AutoCAD that will quite happily work within your environment at the moment. Excuse me. So, work in the correct coordinate system. The type of information I'm looking at the screen are buildings. And let's answer a couple of questions. Well, I'm not working in meters. That would be a bit silly. I'm not adding a roof height of 10 feet for everything, but I'm getting the information from the associated data that comes with the shapefile. It's good stuff. It's a database. I'm going to use it. So we'll pull the height in from the associated data, quick close and refresh, wait for a few seconds. I'm running a slightly lower resolution for our friends videotaping this. But on screen momentarily, you should see the buildings within the confines of the city limit that were given to me. Let's get rid of this box, zoom in a bit closer. There are my buildings with the correct height. So this is connecting to Esri data without translation. I'm building this city model real time. I've already started with the 3D surface and a TIFF image, but just going through this process real time for you. I went out to the USGS, and let's just add another data source. Again, shapefile. They seem to be quite nice pieces of information. The USGS national map, and I got all the road segments for that particular part of Springfield in Oregon. Again, I'm connecting to the road segments. InfraWorks is asking me again to answer a couple of quick questions. Well, these are roads. And we're not going to put any offsets. I'm going to use a standard style for the road. We'll talk about that momentarily. Close and refresh. The centroids from the shapefile of the roads come to the screen. Let's get rid of this box so you can see what's going on. And there are my roads. And of course, being an infrastructure-based model, we can bring in the information underground as well. Why would that be important to some of the Autodesk customers? Well, we have people like Bay Area Rapid Transportation, the subway system in San Francisco. I live not far from San Francisco. Most of the models are underground. But what they want to see is how those models clash with existing utilities, and that information can come from completely different sources. Let me just lock there we go, lock above the terrain. So it doesn't matter how hard I try, I can't go beneath the view. So that's great. We've got some, what have we got here? We've got shapefile for the roads. We've got the shapefile for the buildings. Somewhere over here, I added a random forest. We'll add another random forest in momentarily. Random forest. What do you want about, Pete? Well, I added some trees, a random forest. So this comes with an extensive library of symbology. People, cars, aeroplanes, Queen Mary II. Well, why was that important? One of our customers modeled the whole of San Francisco and the pier areas where Queen Mary II fits because of the whole America's Cup thing that's going on at the moment. We need to make sure that anything that's being built gets built properly. But let's zoom over. I'm trying to find another part of my model. Easiest way for me personally is to zoom out, that's it, to my home view, and then simply double-clicking on the screen to zoom into a building, but a building with a little bit of a difference. Let's see if you can see this. Has anyone ever heard of Revit? Just a few of you. Revit is a parametric architectural tool, building information model. So as I begin to build my model, it's intelligent. If I start moving floors, moving doors, moving windows, adding different elements, the model is parametric, it changes. That is a Revit BIM model in InfraWorks. I just pointed to it, placed it on the screen. So now we're bringing in GIS information, we're bringing in modeling information from an architectural practice. In fact, that building's in the wrong location. So let's just have a bit of fun with this. Hopefully you can see this, spin it around. Maybe it needs to be underground somewhat. So you can see the building is now horribly underground. Let's drag that back up. You may also notice things like shadow casting. So again, there's analysis tools, presentation tools. Well, actually, before I go into the shadow casting and the analysis tools, you may have noticed a very simple toolbar on the screen. And by the way, the important aspect here is a complete novice user can start working on this and with your data in the space of an hour. We're not talking about lengthy training cycles here, people. We're talking about as long as they can get to the data. I would suggest, Warren, an hour is about right? Oh, yeah, I'm looking at my colleague at the back of the room. But I'm not a civil engineer, so I do know I need to create a road. Well, there's an extensive library of roads. You can see some of the roads that have come in, but I'm going to put a road around. Let's draw a road, and I can input giving physical dimensions, but we'll just put a road in there. Quick snap, in goes my road. And this particular road, the style of this road, has things like street lamps. You can see the shadow going on. But again, I may not like that, so let's go to my Home tab, pull up a style palette. Again, please excuse the resolution. There's a whole bunch of different styles that you can pick. There's some predefined styles. So for example, there's a style with a road with a sidewalk. We simply drag that across down to the road that I put on the screen there, and there's my sidewalk, footpath with grass, the road itself, and the road material. I'm not getting the full quality because I'm running 1024 by 768, but you get the idea of what's going on there. Let's get rid of this. So now I'm not a civil engineer, but guess what? I can take this information and pass it straight back into our civil engineering product called Civil 3D. So now I'm in front of a client. I'm pulling in the wonderful GIS information. I've got some roads, they're all over the place, so let's just move stuff around. And by the way, this could be in the Z location. So now I'm actually putting in a ramp because the client wants to have a specific ramp to fly his jet up. Let's undo that. I don't want to. Well, you never know, do you? You just, weirdo stuffo like that comes to play. But starting adding other elements. So again, we'll draw a road. I don't know, let's say that road's coming from there somewhere. We'll come down there and across. Bit of a bad road design. I'm up in the air with that road. I don't know what the hell it's doing there. Please forgive me. Doesn't matter. But see what's happened this end. It's repaired itself. So as a novice user, I'm in front of those people in that council room, and I'm saying, well, fine, okay, let's just draw. Show me what you think it should be like. Show me an AutoCAD drawing, which I can, obviously AutoCAD, bring the AutoCAD drawing into this particular model, or indeed just come to a simple sketch and give precise distances, or in this particular case, Pete Southwood's brand new home from home is going to be somewhere there. There's my building. You can add whatever facades you wish onto any of these buildings, but there I've just put in a random building. We maybe increase the size of this because we're worried about the shadow being cast, as you can see. And then, how often have you been asked to actually do simple environmental stuff? I'm in a meeting, I need to do this quickly. Well, I've got a client sat there. If I increase it at a certain height, his $5 million, two-bedroom Marin County, tell you, some areas you'd be surprised, home is being obscured by the Pete Southwood megalomaniac corporate headquarters. And of course, the shadow casting, some of the visual effects, everything you're seeing here is, apart from the data, is just InfoWorks. It's just standard InfoWorks. The fact that I want to do some analysis, do some shadow casting, well, I can pick a time of the year, a date, a solstice, an equinox. We're currently, if I go to the current, where are we? Current time and date. You can see the overall image itself has changed, got a little bit darker, but let's animate over a period of 24 hours the shadow moving on the screen. Again, I'm in front of that client. I'm in front of somebody who's really desperately interested in what's going on. But as far as I'm concerned, the data is coming from my GIS, it's coming from my CAD, coming from my BIM, coming from my civil engineering. I don't care. Just give me the stuff for me to make more informed decisions. And that's the beauty about a lot of the information that you're producing at the moment. From an Autodesk perspective, that information, I never go in and try and turn around an Esri customer. Esri is a great GIS company. They are. But there are tools out there that will quite happily take that information and maximize on it. It doesn't have to be just stuck in one vendor's tool. Use it across, it's great stuff. Use it across different platforms. You can see here, let's go back to the current time because this is going to drive me nuts, it's going to be too dark. But I'm maximizing an information that doesn't belong in this environment. And just to finish off, because I know time is the essence here, and I'm going to get the big hook, but even taking things, well, you can see these buttons bringing in point clouds, because point clouds are maybe an important part of the information you want to look at. Doing theming on the information below. Let's, for example, do a quick terrain theme. We'll add a terrain theme based upon the attributes for that digital elevation model. Let's have a look at slope. We'll do a quick OK. Wait for a second, and now we're seeing some colorization based around slope. Very, very quick, very simple analysis. Where did it go? Let's undo that. There we go. Okay. Just to finish off, and I'd spent all of 2 minutes actually doing this earlier, but you may want to be in presentations. How often are you having to spend time and money printing, sticking stuff to whiteboards, trying to convey that design intent or whatever's going on within a planning environment to that bunch of NIMBYists that don't want it in their backyard? Well, if I could pull this information together and then just pick, I don't know, a snapshot. So a snapshot, screenshot to be included in a PowerPoint. But wouldn't it be great to create a storyboard? And my storyboard is off the screen. How do I... my friend at the back of the room, just excuse me just for a second. I need to do this because my box has disappeared. And I know this won't come up on your machine, but I will revert back. I just need to do this in order to find, thank you, that thing there. We'll drag that back up. This is the fun of using other systems, and we'll just pop that down so your recording can continue. There we go. Okay, what I was trying to do is get to this box. It's a storyboard maker. You can start adding... Outlook, bane of my life, get off. There we go. So here we can start adding things like cranes and importing paths and camera tracks and walking and things like this, and adding captions and all sorts of things. And I put one together, and I'm going to try to have a look on the screen. Let's go to the beginning. He says, let's go to the beginning. Am I in the middle of something? Of course. Why is that not working now? And it worked beautifully earlier. What you should be seeing, if this were to be working perfectly, is a video, me just spinning around the model. And I'm not sure exactly, I may have deleted some stuff. Not sure exactly what's happened. Doesn't matter. Well, let's go into there, see if that's... Doesn't matter. I'm going to flog that dead horse that's already in the ground. But what you will see is a video around my model. Now, if the model changes, or the GIS changes, or the different data sources change, do I have to worry about the video? No. It's just pointing to the information you're connected to. So the video is part of the model itself. So now you've got information coming from different departments, engineering, architecture, GIS, populating this model, and I'm in front. I'm a novice user, and I don't care about what's happening, and I want to see what's going on with this particular project. So I'm run out of time. I've got 2 minutes over. Thank you for that. So I've broken a cardinal rule to take you 2 minutes over. This wasn't meant as a commercial, but, all right, bit of a commercial. Autodesk has great solutions that will work very happily with your existing environments, not taking over, but maximizing on that data you already have. Come and grab us at the CAD 1 booth. Happy to talk to you about it. So thank you for your time. Kathy, thank you.